And hello again, everybody, and welcome to Podfluxxx, episode 33. Ricky, and if any point you can't hear me, just throw yourself on the floor right out of frame so I'll know you're not there. This is one of the perks of being thrown into the basement to record your podcast. The Wi Fi did not come with me. My cell phone is currently a hot spot. Ricky, how was your Thanksgiving?
It was good. It was good. Just stayed home and ate too much. So
Good, good. So, yesterday, my daughter had a cheerleading clinic that was hosted by the high school.
okay.
So you pay $40. They teach them a little cheer routine. They put it on at the end of like 2 hours or whatever.
Nice.
So we get home, and about 5 minutes later, you hear this smash, right? So one of the girls that was one of the cheerleaders that was part hosting this managed to T-bone my across the street neighbor's car while it was parked from behind it. Right? An incredible. Right. Right. And so we come out, see if everybody's okay. And the girl hops out of her car and she's like, I don't have a license. And I just down to change the music. And we all thought like she didn't have her license with her. Right? And then when the cops get there, she's like, "Oh no, I have a learner's permit." And she completely totaled her mother's car. Her
Oh man.
parents were nowhere to be found. And that was, and as soon as my street.
Yeah.
So as soon as there's a car accident on one
Y-
side of it,
Yeah.
and all the looky-loos are driving by, I
Yeah.
went and I took my truck and I took Rachel's truck off the street
Uh,
because I was like, "This is how this turns into a 4-car accident here because somebody's going to be looking at that and
mm-hmm.
is going to take my fucking truck off the road."
Yeah.
So that was yesterday, and then I got to build a vanity for Thea's room that was only about 75 pieces of wood and took me about 6.5 hours to build. So that's been my weekend.
Yikes.
But luckily, the WWE, they came through with the former Thanksgiving Eve tradition,
Mm.
and they presented Survivor Series 2023 War Games. Ricky, how much of this show did you watch? I know we were
Yeah.
texting back and forth through it, but we were on different time lengths, waves.
Yeah. I watched all of it. I didn't know exactly what time it was starting, so I kind of caught like the tail end of the pre-show, and then I checked out for a minute because there's only so much Booker T you can take, and then when I came back
Mm-hmm.
in, it was the
Shucky Ducky.
yeah, it was the middle of the War Games, the women's War Games match. So that's where I started it from.
Mm-hmm.
So would have
Okay.
preferred to come a little bit later, but
Do you remember when Medusa and Missy Hyatt and Dark Journey and 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 Sister Sherry were in a War Games match?
I don't remember that.
No,
No,
no, because it wasn't a thing.
right.
Because the men were going to do one later, and it was going to draw all the money,
Oh man,
right?
yeah. It was so bad. It was so bad in so many ways. Like the War Games cage is supposed to be the gimmick, and it seemed like every time a girl came out, they just went underneath the ring to Home Depot and
Right.
grabbed random things. It just, I don't know. It wasn't planned out well. It was it shouldn't have happened. First off, if anything, you should have had the girls do a Survivor Series match, which might have made more sense considering it's
Mhm.
called Survivor Series. Then you could have had Becky Lynch and Charlotte, uh, the
Be the
sole
last two,
winners,
yeah.
right? And it would have put more of a emphasis on their, I guess, their friends now again. I don't know. That's what they try to play it up as, and then I don't know. It just would have been a much better match. Obviously, I think the crowd would have popped huge if it were, you know, a Survivor Series match, because then they would have saw multiple finishes. Everyone could have looked good. I don't know. It was done terribly. I hate when the girls get out there and they're trying to play fight with each other with objects and toys and
Right.
jumping off the top of the cage. I don't know. It was bad.
I'll tell you one thing. Standing up on that truss on top of that cage
Yeah.
with a garbage pail over your
Yeah.
line of sight,
Yeah.
probably not the safest thing you can do.
Right.
Right? And then once you're in it and you're jumping, like, you got to really hope to God that you're gonna hit your spot, and
Right.
that the bunch of dipshits down below you
Uh-huh.
are gonna save your fucking life.
Yeah.
And then did you see Charlotte when Charlotte did her moonsault?
Yeah.
And I think it was Carrie Sane because she almost went over the whole group of them,
Yeah.
and Carrie Sane just ate her boot right in the face while she
Right
was
in the
coming
face.
down.
Yep.
Right in the fucking face. There was a
Yeah.
lot of right in the face in that match.
There was, yeah, there was a couple of times where I just cringed, like, oh man, like thinking in my head, she's gonna be apologizing in the back on that one, because there
Oh
was a whole
god.
bunch of that, like Miss
Yeah.
Q. Um, like in a match like that, it's hard to get any timing and rhythm down because it's kind of just do a stunt, wait, do a stunt, wait, do a stunt, wait. There's no flow to the match. And none of them are
Yeah.
good enough workers to understand that and build up to something to happen, uh, to where there is a flow and the fans can follow. It was just kind of like shotgun this, shotgun that, and then hope for a good finish. So it was bad all the
Yeah.
way around.
The people though, the people in Chicago, because we talked about this, we were texting a little bit during the show. Like we were watching things that were bad. But
Yeah.
those people, man, they were into everything. There wasn't like nobody groaned at anything almost all night long. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
So they were liking what they were seeing. But anyway, so the women's war games wasn't really, it wasn't for me. Clearly it
Uh,
wasn't for you.
mm-mm.
You texted me something really funny during the women's match last night, but I don't know if you want to say it out loud. So we're gonna go ahead and just skip over it. So the next match was Gunther and Miz. Now you got to this before I did,
Yeah.
and you seem to not care for it.
No. They both kind of look like they were just taking a night off. Like, I don't know if it was just me, but I didn't see like any viciousness out of Gunther. And it's hard for me to ever buy the Miz as a baby face. So like I didn't mind the nut shot
Yeah,
spot,
especially
and I you're all kind of frozen up.
I hate when they're kind of just like, oh, we need a baby face, make the
Yeah.
Miz baby face, and then
Yeah.
all of a sudden you gotta like try and buy the Miz
Yeah.
out of nowhere after like one good promo, and it's like, oh, the Miz is a baby face, and now you gotta buy it.
Yeah, it just the match was just there. I don't know if it was both guys thinking, with the main event being what it was going to be, that they thought maybe let's just get through it tonight. When Miz did the nut shot thing, uh, I realized that the crowd is like waiting for Gunther to lose. It's not necessarily who he's losing to. It's not
Yes.
like they were super excited for the Miz, that's what I think is what checked me out of it, because even when it happened and then the slow turnover for the pin, I thought they're not going to do it, right? Like, not off this. And then when he kicked, even I was like, oh, like that was a good one, but it was a good one for the sense of like Gunther may lose, right? It's kind of like Mayweather getting rocked. Like,
Right.
it doesn't matter who does it. You're just thinking, oh shit, is it coming?
Right.
So yeah, the match was lackluster at best. It was just a lot of like, you know, little busy work stuff. Nothing great. Nothing great at all.
I felt like after Miz shined, he checked out. Like
Okay,
he
so
was like, "Yep, here's all my stuff,
yeah.
and now I'm gonna take some heat, so I'm just gonna lay on the floor."
Yes.
Like there was one point where like I feel like I specifically remember Gunther was like waiting for Miz to get up for
Yeah.
something,
Yes.
and then he had to go over and pick him up and put him
Yes.
in place,
Mm-hmm.
which is normally like a lot of people shit on Miz. I happen to like Miz for what he is. Like there is nobody in WWE better at the WWE style
Right.
than the Miz, right? And he can normally carry off whatever is expected from him.
Right.
So like at a pretty good level, you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Oh yeah.
So like when I saw like he was like he didn't get up for something, he was out of position.
Yeah.
Gunther, like whatever happened with that splash on the from the top rope, did you see that?
Yes, it was, yeah, so bad.
I didn't know if Miz was supposed to move or whatever,
Right.
but it made Gunther look stupid. Even Corey Graves was like,
Yeah, he
maybe he
didn't
was
get all
trying
of
to
it.
protect his knee, like,
Yeah. Yeah, that was
yeah.
bad.
But so that was that match. But again, the people with everything, I'm starting to notice a trend here in Chicago.
Yeah, but
And it's either
I
they
mean,
really, really like wrestling or
well,
nothing else happens entertainment wise in that city ever.
I was just gonna say, like, I think they're just excited to see the big stars come to town finally, instead of having the circus that they had there
The
for so
parking
many.
lot circus that they get.
Yeah, it's just, I think that they were just excited that WWE was back there, and it probably felt more special than what it really was, for Chicago, for that audience at least. I don't know.
All right. Well, in the next one, we were reminded 100 times in this match that we were seeing a great lucha exhibition. And it's funny because, again, you got to this match before I did, and you texted me that this is wrong, lucha.
Yeah,
And then, or lucha done the wrong way.
yeah,
And then I get Michael Cole for 10 minutes telling me that I'm watching a lucha clinic.
right.
So do you want to expound on this a little bit?
Yeah, like, I don't know. Like, when I watched the match, there was nothing to it. No, like, I don't know. I study a lot of, like, well, at least when I was wrestling, I would study a lot of Eddie Guerrero's Nitro stuff. Because you're figuring he's going to have a match somewhere in the range, bell to bell, of like 6 to 4 minutes, and
Right.
somehow when he was a heel in WCW, he could manage to get guys like Ultimo Dragon and Juventud over, you know, with letting
Oh,
them get their
Andy.
with letting them get their stuff off on him, and then pissing him off, which is causing his bad attitude. Then you would see a little bit of a flurry of a comeback, and then Eddie would just steal it right from him and jack him with the finish. And it was a real statement maker type of match for Eddie Guerrero. Like, he was clearly the star, and he showed you why. This should have been a same style match where because first off, the babyface shouldn't dart across the ring and try to front kick his heel opponent, which is what happened. Like Dragon Lee shot across as soon as the bell rang, and he wanted to do that fast pace type of match, that he might do on the Indies or something. But that didn't make any sense here. Like, and then Escobar being the heel, he needed something to piss him off, but he never did. He just kind of took over. He sidestepped him. He put heat on him. Boom, boom, boom. Dragon Lee laid there dead, like didn't even want to move. So I don't know if he was purposely mad since he was, had, jobber face on or what, but he stopped moving dead to where Escobar kept picking him up. But then Escobar was mad, really for no reason, because he never let Dragon Lee get off on him in the beginning to give him anything to be mad about. So, the match was flat. So now he's pandering to the crowd to get some sort of reaction. And of course, they're going to react when he does that, instead of just naturally, bringing them along and then hear the crowd, then turn to the crowd and acknowledge them. He's doing it the other way around. He's acknowledging the crowd, so they boo him instead of hearing boos and then get mad because he's hearing boos and then go back to the attack, which will generate good heat. So the match was super flat. Like you pointed out, a destroyer into a driver. He stabbed him repeatedly after he blew his face off with the machine gun. So it was stupid. It should have never happened. I don't know whose idea. I mean, I'm sure it's one of their ideas, but
it's for real. It's like he hit him with a truck, and then he threw a Hot Wheels at him.
Yeah, it was bad. It was. Escobar shouldn't even be doing a destroyer just because of the mere fact that it's a move that 90% of the fans are gonna think is cool looking, and if it's not the finish, what was the point? He does the same driver that I would do, and I try to set up that type of driver with maybe some strikes, like smaller strikes, but I'd stack them together where the opponent's droggy or whatever, and I could pull them in and hit it. That was the highest point of that scenario. It wasn't like I hit a super power bomb off the top rope, then put them on my shoulders and set. It's like it was just stupid. So it was just done bad. I'm wondering if they're giving Escobar more rope to hang himself type thing. Are they letting him think, hey, he's getting over, which he's really not. It's Rey fighting from underneath. That's really the story we're all watching. I'm wondering if I could see them doing a mask versus hair at WrestleMania or something with Rey. I mean, that would be a story. Just knowing Escobar from when he was in Lucha Underground, I could see him pitching something like that. I don't know if they would do it because I've heard that I don't know. I guess Vince doesn't really like that type of stuff, or I mean, who knows now who's in charge? But I could see them doing something like that. He did a big mask versus mask match in Mexico, so I could see them doing that, like a hair versus mask type thing.
Where are you on like they are really force feeding the Rey Mysterio co-signs Dragon Lee as the next big lucha star? Where do you weigh in on that? Do you see is Dragon Lee the next quote unquote next Rey Mysterio?
I mean, he has the ability to be, is he? I'm not sure. I mean, that would be something that you'd have to see in time because his style needs to adapt. Like he has a very hybrid style, I guess I would call it, where he does a lot of moves with very little emotion, and in WWE, the idea is to adapt to their style of wrestling, and put your stuff in. So that's only something we'd find out in time, right? Like there is a different style of wrestling when you're a main event wrestler. There really is. I think it was Terry Taylor told me what the difference was between a first match guy and a last match guy is when the bell rings. When the bell rings, the first match guys charge at each other and do stuff. And the main event guys, when the bell rings, they just stand there because they're the reason why everyone's there. So it's a different mindset. Dragon Lee's super athletic, and like I know he's a younger guy and stuff, so he has the ability to become that guy. Whether he does or not is, I'm not sure it's really possible, because Ray is such, like, as a person, he gets it, and it's hard to make that type of call right now if Dragon Lee even understands what opportunity he's getting in front of him right now. This new generation of wrestlers, right. It's more about like, oh, I'm a big deal, of course I'm the guy, instead of maybe an older mindset of like, I have an opportunity to be the guy, let me learn everything I possibly can so I'm equipped when they do give me that opportunity. So I don't know. I mean, physically, yeah, he's got the ability to do it, but at best, he's almost as good as Rey Mysterio, I mean, realistically, right? Because it's too similar of a character.
Makes me think about Rey Mysterio.
Yeah, but that's what I mean. It's like it's too familiar, too unique style characters that are too similar to each other. So yeah, we're just looking at basically trying to replace Ray with this guy. Doesn't really work for me, at least.
So, well, what's next was Rhea Ripley and Zoe Starks for the women's world title.
Yeah.
What'd you think?
That was bad too. I'm not sure if it's even fair because Rhea is just so good at everything. Again, it was like, where did she work Gonzalez? Was that Saudi Arabia or?
Well, it was the 5-way in Saudi Arabia.
Okay, so not that. Was it Puerto Rico? No.
I can't remember. It was Zelina Vega and somebody in Puerto Rico, and it was not Carrie, saying Io Sky and Bianca Belair in Puerto Rico.
What was the pay-per-view after that? When she worked Gonzalez, she exposed Gonzalez for being like flat-footed and not knowing.
Yeah, that was recent when they were in the ring for way too long.
Yeah, and then this was a similar type of situation. I don't know if it was as bad. I don't know this Zoe Starks or whatever the fuck her name is, but she does not look good either. I don't know. It's tough because Gonzalez has the size that she could make a run at Rhea, and Starks just seemed like she was waiting for her spots or for a spot, I guess. Right. I don't know. It wasn't a good match. It was another good showcase for Rhea. I really hope that they don't switch the belt off Rhea for a long time.
I don't think they can, because I feel like anytime they put Rhea out there and she goes out there with a girl and tries to bring the other girl into deep water, they can't swim.
No.
Not with her, at least.
That's what I mean. Yeah, it's got to be it's got to be slim pickings for the people that are going to take it off of Rhea. If I were, I mean, I would just let it ride. Like, I wouldn't even be looking at moving that belt off her yet. There's no way that they can't find somebody in the next few months. Like, I hope to God it's not Jade, but I mean, that could be a serious issue.
It was at Payback.
Payback, that's what it was, yeah.
And I mean, there were certain things like just like everybody else in WWE, and I feel like a lot of the times also it's mainly the women wrestlers. They all do their stuff well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But it's just like you can see like Rhea's the only one out there who's got like the nuance and who's doing the small things
Yeah.
that are important. And like, so there was nothing like unsettling to the eye while watching the match, except for when she tried to counter out of that deal on the top rope and she
Yeah.
tried to land on her feet and
Yeah.
she didn't. And they both just kind of like ate shit there. And the announcers were like, bah, like they didn't even have a way to even try and cover because it didn't even occur to them that she was trying to land on her feet out of whatever Rhea was trying to do.
Yeah.
Until like 15 seconds later, Michael Cole was like, "Oh, I think she was trying to reverse it," because it looked so weird.
Yeah.
But they're like, they can't beat Rhea Ripley until they've got somebody that can hang, but isn't the past. You can't use Becky or Bailey or Charlotte
Right.
or like the person who beats Rhea Ripley has got to be like the Becky to her Charlotte for the next 10 years.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely has to be of the newer era girls, but I just again, it's tough because Rhea's so good at everything. Like she's just one of those characters that is viable all the way around, like a Stone Cold or something. Like you don't think that she acts any other way except this way all the time.
Right.
So it's really I don't know, if it were me in charge, the conversation about beating Ripley in the next 6 months to a year, I don't even want to hear it.
No.
Like, no, I'm saying, hey, who can you get ready for the next, and don't even bring up the fact that this girl's dropping that belt. So,
well, let's segue out of the women and into the men's War Games match. Now, the thread throughout the show was they didn't know if Randy Orton was going to be there or not. I don't know how much of the match you actually want to talk about. Again, it was the same thing with the gimmicks. I don't know how they rigged up the bull rope for him to kind of just reach under the apron, and the bull rope happened to be in that, specific there. I think there might have been somebody under the ring behind the skirt that kind of just passed it up the track.
Yeah, right? Yeah.
But it's just like, like you said earlier, when they used to do the classic War Games matches, like Dusty and the Road Warriors didn't come down to the ring with fucking garbage pails full of bullshit.
Yeah.
To get in, because that would took away from the spectacle of the match. Cody, of all people, should understand.
Right. Yeah.
That the match is what's getting over here tonight. It's about
the gimmick. The gimmick is the cage. Like it's the cage. Yeah. Like I liked it a whole lot better than any other match on the card, just because everybody in there could work at that level.
Mm-hmm.
So it was enjoyable to watch. And I don't think they overdid any gimmick, to be honest with you. Because after a while, it was a lot of like just fists flying and punching and kicking. And it really did look like a fight in there at one point, where I realized, like, wow, like they're just in there working. Like, how much fun is that? Like, these guys are just like, hey, let's just eat some time up and beat the shit out of each other. So it wasn't that they were like setting up stuff until they needed to start doing that. Yeah. And then it all, and of course, like it all made sense once they did do it, so it's all believable. It's all, stuff that was put in the right place.
It's funny because while watching it, I was thinking the same thing, but the opposite line of thought of it. Like, I'm looking at this and I'm like, man, like, you can't have any fun on the WWE level. Like, think about if it was us.
Mm-hmm.
You know the 7 or 8 dipshits I'm talking about, right?
Yeah.
what
Like in
kind
our
of
war games.
right, what kind of ridiculous shit we would say to each other during the ring, like in the ring during the match.
Yeah.
Like these guys, there's always a camera in your face, and you
Yep.
got to always be in gimmick. Like we would have
Right.
been like, "I'm gonna put my thumb in your asshole and make you
Yeah.
smell it," you know, and they got
Mhm.
to be like, "Oh, you betrayed me, Jay," you know, like it's just like they can't have fun there. Like that's not
Right.
fun. There's like if you don't get a chance to like be ridiculous
Yeah.
while you're doing this, I don't see
Right.
how it could be fun.
Yeah.
But so I kept thinking it because every time like there was like a 3 minute, it wasn't really 3 minutes, it was probably more like 30 seconds, but it felt like forever, where Balor was like just talking to Rollins and it was all like serious in character stuff while he
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
beating him up. And I was like, this is like, if this was an indie show or a house show, he'd have been
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna pull out your dick and stick a Q-tip up it, like
Yeah.
it would have been fun, but
Yeah.
it's got to be like you should have joined the Judgment Day. Like it's
Right.
it's like so stupid, so stupid. Um, I really liked the way when it got down to the last guy,
Yeah. Yeah.
and then there was no music, and
Yeah.
then Rhea came out with the briefcase. So I was like, ooh, because now I'm thinking about all the things my mind's going to, all the different places, all the things that you've seen online all week. And I'm going, oh man, what if there is no Randy and this is what they're doing?
Yeah.
And then a second later, Randy's music hits.
Yeah.
And it was like, all right. And then, dude, the size of Randy Orton when he came out.
They couldn't find him because he was in the gym.
Yeah.
And a tanning bed.
Right.
But yeah, like they
And a
did that.
pharmacy in Tijuana.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, so like I'm once again, like we can't stress it enough here, like, and it's not being anti AEW, but this is how you do it. You know what I mean? You get you thinking one way, and then you give the fans what they wanted, right? Which is ultimately what definitely since Triple H has been in charge, or at least been trying to gain control of creative. He's been doing that with a lot of these storylines, giving the fans what they want. So it was really cool because I even thought when it was just Randy, right? I was like, man, if I were there and I was a fan there, this is all worth the money.
Yeah.
To me, like I told myself, like as a fan of wrestling, I thought I would be able to say, yeah, I was there. I remember that because I was there just at the point when Randy came in and just hit the hits, he's just line, duck one, power, boom, power, boom, yay, Randy, I remember thinking that. And then I thought, well, Rhea's still out there with the briefcase. Does Randy turn on Seth and then Punisher, cashes? And then I don't know, like, I'm thinking all these different things of like what we're doing with what we have, and what we already had, right, was an amazing moment that, everyone's going to remember, but I totally thought, I didn't mind okay. So like by the end of War Games, I thought, okay, that was a good War Games main event for Survivor Series. When I think of the whole show, I thought, the girls didn't need a War Games, obviously. They should have just did a Survivor Series match, because it could have been as simple as the babyface grabbing the mic and say, we're heading to Survivor Series, but we're going to have a Survivor Series match, boom, 5-on-5, that would have been so much better for them. Because I thought when I looked at the show as a whole, I looked at it like the girls tried too hard to top the guys. And then the guys just came in knowing we're all over.
They didn't even have to try.
Yeah, that they didn't have to try. And they really didn't, because it was, like I said, it was a lot of punch and kick. It was a lot of just brawling, which is fine.
Is the essence of War Games.
Yeah. Yeah.
But,
it was.
I saw a lot of criticism online today that people were like, I don't understand. Randy he came in, did his stuff, and then the match was over. And
he's a star.
right. And then they were comparing it to the AEW Blood and Guts War Games where they go an hour. So I said to somebody on Twitter, I said, listen, before Randy got out there, you got 30 minutes of heat, little comeback. Heat, little comeback.
Yeah.
The last babyface comes in, that's the fucking hot tag.
Right.
You know, make the real comeback and go home. Otherwise, you're just starting over. Why?
Yeah.
It doesn't need to be any staying and doing anything more than that is just doing way, way, way too much. You're just being out there for time, just for the sake of being out there for time.
Yeah, it's the exact. I mean, and you had to know that was Randy's call, not for any reason like he doesn't want to work or anything stupid like that, but because he knows, like that pop, you weren't going to get much bigger than that,
right?
And you're already there, right? And like once he came out, that's all I wanted to see was get his shit in. They all did the cool DDT. That was awesome. You know, it was like all these little things that like I couldn't see it getting set up. But once they set it up, I was like, whoa, that was fucking cool. Like, you know, like it was a fun match to watch. It was enjoyable. You know, it was all the things that it should have been. I thought it could have been one of their best pay-per-views if they would have had the girls do a Survivor Series match instead of bad War Games playing.
He comes out and does what he does, and then they get cut off. If he gets cut off and they go back to heat just to work 5-10 more minutes
to get them back up where they were.
Get near.
No.
You don't get those people near where they were.
No.
If you do that.
It's like, I mean, yeah, that's exactly it. Like it just you're working to get your back up to zero, almost, it's like
you're not getting anywhere close to
where you are. I mean, yeah, it's just a bad situation. Obviously they're going to all know more than any of us will ever know, but especially Orton, so I mean, it was great. It was a great build. It was exciting, it was epic and everything else. And then some shithead came in at the end of the night and ruined it all for everybody.
Okay, so let's get there. Randy lets Cody make the pin.
Cody I saw that.
Song is playing. They're celebrating. Yeah. They cut to the wide shot. They run the little copyright gimmick in the corner. And everybody's about to hit the button on their remote control. And then, pardon a phrase from another podcaster, like Mussolini. And the place went
blue.
Dude, blue isn't even.
Yeah.
That you might have been able to register that on some type of seismic chart.
Yeah, that was. I mean, I you know what? Once again, WWE shows you how it's supposed to be done, right? And I'm not even talking about the Punk return, because Punk's return for AEW was a big deal, and it was emotional, and it was, they started their show off like that. So everyone's, now everyone's swimming upstream, right? The rest of the night that night. So, half that crowd probably could have left home and, came to see what I saw, and that was it.
Got my ice cream bar and I'm out.
Yeah, pretty much. And, they didn't need him on the show, obviously. Chicago, from a business standpoint, Chicago is a hot market for all of pro wrestling. As
you're covering your mic.
Oh, that was the Rosemont building. Yeah. So that's where he did the Cena Money in the Bank match. Remember?
Yeah.
That was WrestleMania 22 or whatever, and 13, right? I think Brett and Stone Cold. But
yeah, Triple H reminded us that he sold out and main
Yeah,
event that WrestleMania in the press
yeah.
conference.
So it was, people are too worried about trying to create their own way, and this is where the bad AEW comes in. There is no other way to do pro wrestling right except the way these guys are doing it because they're the most successful at it. Now you can add your twists and turns and this and that, but there's still a formula and there's a mold to it. It's like making a match. Like when we would go over psychology and practice, I never told you guys do this move, do this move, and do this move. Just if you put the move sequence where it makes sense, where it's a realistic build to something, and then you just make it your own, right? And then once you got good at that formula, or at least had that formula down somewhat, you went and made your own music with your own styles, and I mean, that's how WWE is as a business, as a whole, and that's why they are where they are. Here's the scary thing. Here's the scary thing to me. Like I thought about it this morning. Like we are this excited about the product at the end of Survivor Series. So we have more questions now after Survivor Series than we did before.
Mm-hmm.
We're not even in WrestleMania season yet. Most of the time, we are looking from who's in the Rumble, who could be in the Rumble, and beyond at WrestleMania. Right now, it's late November, and we've already got, I mean, all of night one and half of night two can be considered dream match possibilities, never before seen situations, and who knows who's bringing what titles or who's dropping by then, So I think that this WrestleMania, like every other WrestleMania, but this could be the most blockbuster WrestleMania on all levels. I don't want to be on WrestleMania 41's committee trying to outbest this year's, because right now I don't know how it gets any better.
This year's road to WrestleMania
Exactly
is probably going to be the most profitable, the most talked about, the highest viewed, highest attended road to WrestleMania in years, if not ever.
I mean, we're talking like Austin type numbers.
Yes. And it's like, because after last night, what do you think? What do you think the bump in the ratings for Raw tomorrow is going to be?
Yeah, has to be huge. That was the first thing I thought. Like I would have liked for him to at least said into the camera, and I'm coming to Monday Night Raw, or something about see you on Monday night. Something that would have been like a nice twist or whatever you want to call. But I mean, it's out there now. He'll be there, so it's
I knew we weren't going to hear him or hear him say anything, see him do anything. They were going to give us just enough to go holy shit, holy shit, holy shit, fly to Twitter and keep Peacock on for the press conference. Because if they really wanted to hedge their bets, they would have sat him down at that table at the press conference and let CM Punk, get himself in some trouble where all his trouble began, and that's at an unnecessary post-pay-per-view fucking press conference for a fictional sport. So let's get past what actually happened there, and let's talk about before we get. I don't want to spend too much time, but have you been on Twitter today or last night?
Yeah, I was checking out. I mean, after that, I knew all the experts were going to come out.
Have you ever seen such sad, angry, grown ass men before in your life than seem to exist on Twitter.
Yeah, no, I haven't seen that before.
I, they're already rolling out the promos of all the stuff that CM Punk had to say about
Right,
WWE while he was working in AEW, to
right.
call him a hypocrite and everything like that. Do you think? And I think it's a cool way. If I were booking, right, I don't roll CM Punk in there all smiles and rainbows, happy to be in WWE.
No,
I roll him in there with the same attitude he had about WWE for the last 10 years while he was with in AEW, ready to do something about it from the inside. And that's the character path I would take with CM Punk here. What do you do at this point with the returning CM Punk?
well, going back to what you said
Besides
about,
rubbing shit in AEW's face.
yeah, I mean, going back to what he had said about WWE and AEW was his experience. And
Mm-hmm.
that was what, 7 years prior to him coming back to
Right.
wrestling, right? So he didn't say anything that wasn't true to him, or his true feelings, I should say. Uh, you know, the thing about all the BS with Punk in the past, it's there. It's in the past. Even Triple H said, I was looking for what Triple H had to say about it, and he was the big question mark on if and how all this stuff even came about. Like, I figured that they did kind of, bury the hatchet, whatever, uh, you know, and Vince, Triple H, this is Triple H's turn to become the new Vince, right?
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not about personal grudges, it's about business. And there's gonna, again, like we were just pointing out, there's gonna be a huge, spike in everything that they do from here on to WrestleMania. So
Have
I
you
don't know.
ever seen somebody choose their words more carefully than Triple H did in that press conference while
I
talking
love
about
it.
CM Punk?
I love that. I love that Triple H. First off, I admire the fact that he gets out there and he doesn't dodge a question. So from a fan's perspective, that's great. Yeah, he definitely, like, he does the thing where he kind of looks up and he's like, how can I say this nicely? Is all I say, is all I can read on his face, right? Because we
Right.
all know what he wants to say.
Right. And he wasn't about to put Punk over either. He
No,
was like,
no.
he gets talked about a lot.
Yeah, we've changed. I've changed. He's changed. The WWE,
Yeah.
everything's changed, and it's true, And I mean, I talk about it all the time. How, my dad is, everyone in my family loves my dad like he's a big teddy bear, But me and my brother could tell you some stories that would change your mind real quick about that,
Right.
from when we were kids. So everyone changes. We know that. But yeah, so like, as far as like what I would do with them, I'm not sure just yet. You still got to like check the temperature of the room, I would imagine, if what's coming out is true, and that's a big if. Seth not being happy and Drew being upset. My questions are, did Drew resign? Because wasn't he sitting out for a bit?
Mm-hmm.
Did he resign? If not, and he's grabbing his ball to go home, he has all the right to be upset, because that Punk wasn't coming in for $300 a night guarantee.
Right.
So
Now,
Drew's argument was he wanted to be paid what he was worth, and he has that right to be upset.
Yes.
So that I don't know what that all entails. I don't know, is he still waiting out the remainder of whatever he had left? Uh, and as far as like the Seth Rollins stuff, I don't know if this has all been a big build for as long as it has been. There's also another person in the locker room that I know for a fact that isn't a big CM Punk fan, which is AJ Styles. So I
Mm,
don't know. I don't know how much going around and Punk mending some fences is. I mean, how long is that going to take, right? Before we can start pulling in these big time money matches that are going to basically set the world on fire uh, with heavy
well,
ammunition behind them, with the WWE being what it is today, you know?
from what we've been told, CM Punk knows his way around a Starbucks gift card. So if AJ
Oh,
Styles is into coffee, then he should be all right. However, I did see another angle of the Drew McIntyre thing, and he stormed off while Cody Rhodes' music was still playing.
oh, okay.
So it was before the CM Punk entrance, but I did also read that everybody in the main event knew what was going to happen before they went to the ring.
Oh, okay.
So it
So
might
I read that I guess Triple H took over as producer of the show the last 3 minutes because he didn't want everyone
everybody else, yeah.
in the
And he
back.
cued
Yeah.
the music. He cued the truck
Yeah.
personally for the music
Yeah.
and all that stuff. Now, what I'm wondering is you got to, because, all of a sudden everybody's got all this information 5 minutes after a show ends, right?
Yep.
But, before the show, Meltzer's Twitter was like, he's not gonna be there, but he could be there. So who knows? I don't know. Anybody knows. It could be anybody's guess. So you got to wonder if these guys are just making shit up that way they don't look like they're behind the eight ball,
Yes.
or if they're like, well, I knew the whole time, but I didn't want to
Right.
betray the confidence that so and so put in me. So it's really hard to tell with these fucking, a lot of these dirt sheet guys like the Meltzers and the Sean Ross Saps and stuff, because like they do get stuff. Like I see that Sean Ross Sap, he gets stuff uh that WWE probably doesn't want him to have.
Hmm.
The guy from Fightful, he gets it a lot.
Yeah.
So and then that Nick Houseman was in on the press conference, and he's the House of Wrestling guy that started all the press conference shit with CM Punk to begin with at Brawl In.
Okay.
So as soon as Triple H opened up for questioning on the CM Punk thing and they went to him, I was like, there's no way this guy didn't know, as soon as CM Punk knew that this was happening.
Right.
But I'm very curious on what they're gonna do with Punk, if we're gonna see him work before the Rumble, who we're gonna see him work with. What do you want to see out of CM Punk? You got the whole roster here. What are some of the matches, being that you and I predicted he'd be at Survivor Series, the night after fucking All In London. It's another one
I
for us.
mean, I I I go with something good that people want to see. It all depends on what side he was going to play. If first off, I would do at least a little bit, a few weeks, maybe even a couple months worth of maybe him just being there.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, maybe walking by Paul Heyman in the hallway would be cool, because I could see Paul doing something kind of crazy and really, really, with those two minds, who knows what they can come up with. Something way better than what I'm thinking of. But I'm thinking like something like that. So it teases the whole Roman Punk thing. I would do a bunch of teasing, like just different scenarios where he's around. I would get different reactions from, or maybe honest reactions from different people, like maybe if someone's doing some sort of interview segment and they just go ahead and throw his name out there and see what catches, like, and then you got to figure out, is he a heel or a face? Because he can do whatever. So you can have him go out and start a promo as a face and then flip that bitch and be the most hated person in the building. And then now we have our at least side that he's playing on.
Right.
Is he's a heel. So now what faces do we pull up to get to his level? Like an LA Knight versus a CM Punk, heel versus face. That's a nice little argument you can have.
Program with Cody.
Yeah, something with Cody as well could be interesting. Yes. So, like I said, there's no need to jump the gun. I would do for a while, just have him around, or have, where did he do the pipe bomb? Las Vegas.
Yeah.
I think that would be kind of cool to revisit Las Vegas and say, last time I was here, something like, we could do all kinds of fun shit like that, so it's really tough to say. It's more of one of those situations. Where do we need them? Do we need heels or we need faces? I feel like Cody and LA Knight kind of have that face locked up. So maybe we need him as heel. Does he turn heel right away? Does he do a match and turn? Does he do it during a promo? That's the great thing about having Punk out there, is you don't even need a match really to kind of, start something hot. So
see the new leader of Judgment Day.
Yeah, right. I don't know about putting him in a group right away.
How awesome was it when he just decided he was in charge of Nexus? You remember that?
Yeah.
And then next thing you knew, they were whipping motherfuckers. It was fantastic.
Yeah, you bring straight edge society back, maybe.
There you go.
Gallows is there somewhere.
Not with not with Balor though, right? I think you can't have an Irish guy in the straight edge society. Doesn't work.
Man, doesn't work that way.
All right. Any final thoughts here on the return of CM Punk to WWE and how angry the 700,000 people that watch AEW are?
I think it's good. This is, AEW's fault. They had them locked in for another couple years, or at least another year after this year. But, they did it to themselves. I don't want to see guys lose their jobs, but I don't know.
Corey's fault.
Yeah. He's definitely, one of them at least. But no, as far as AEW goes, I would be looking at it as a huge, step backwards for them, because whatever houses they're going to pull in that might be respective, WWE is just going to absolutely crush and destroy. So
yeah,
if they're really hanging their hat on this Wembley thing, that honeymoon is over.
Remind me next week to bring up the seating chart for Wembley for next year.
All right. Yeah. So as far as that goes, yeah, it's all interesting. And like I said, we have WrestleMania interests at the end of November. So this only spells success for them going into it, because those are some diehard fans in the Northeast, obviously, as we know, but they're going to make sure that they're at that WrestleMania weekend, that week, right? Like, they're going to make sure that they're there. So a bunch of first time evers coming up, and it'll be interesting. So we'll see.
Well, we'll see. And Ricky, we'll see you next week. This has been Podfluxxx, episode number 33, Survivor Series review. I'm buying myself some time until I can find the gimmick. There it is. Later, Motherfluxxers.